The movie starts with a battle between the troll Bular and the Trollhunter Conjugar. Bular demands that Conjugar yield as he knows Conjugar is no match for him. However, a Trollhunter never yields, and Conjugar would rather die. Then the battle begins raging, where Conjugar nearly manages to defeat him, yet the sun rises, which distracts Conjugar and makes Bular gain the opportunity to kick him off. However, they both can't stand under the sun. If they do, they will turn into stone. As there is no way for Conjugar to run, Bular asks Conjugar to hand over his amulet. Conjugar tries to escape from Bular to find a chance that could gain the upper hand against him, yet he gets beaten time after time by Bular. As Conjugar has no strength left, he decides to get his amulet to find a new champion. At that time, he sacrifices himself into the sun and left the amulet on the ground, which keeps Bular from getting it. A high school student named Jim Lake wakes up from his sleep and hurries to get the breakfast done for his mom before he goes to school. As he leaves the house, his best friend Toby already awaits him every morning as usual. However, they speed up to get to school on time, as they don't want to get punishment from their teacher, so Jim decides to take the canal that will save them 5 minutes. When Jim arrives, he suddenly hears something calling his name that comes from the pile of rocks, and he goes to see what it is. He then finds Conjugar's amulet, which he believes is nothing special, when there is no more voice coming from it, and he thinks someone might prank him. In class, Jim always stares at his crush Nunez, and always sleeps in class because he gets a little sleep by helping his mom. Upon seeing this, Mr. Strickler, who is the teacher, lets Jim get his mother to call him as he wants to talk to her. While at sports hour, Jim decides to approach Nunez in Spanish, but her friends seem not to like him, and they get Nunez moving to another place. Nunez asks Jim if he likes Shakespeare or not, which is the school play, and she wants him to join as she's having trouble getting boys to audition. Jim tells Toby he has talked to Nunez, and Toby is happy for him that he finally spoke to her. Toby also wants Jim to join the school play, but Jim refuses since he doesn't know how to be an actor. As they leave school, they encounter Steve, who is bullying Eli, one of Jim's friends. Toby advises Jim to get out of this if he doesn't want Steve to do the same to him. However, Jim can't pretend like nothing happens to Eli, so he goes to confront Steve, asking him to allow Eli to go. As Steve is about to beat him, Jim says if he does in 20 years, he will be fat, bald, and working in a muffler shop. Hearing this, Steve decides to release Eli and asks Jim to meet him on Friday at noon. When he arrives home, Jim talks to the amulet as he thinks it might have something for him, yet the amulet doesn't respond to him as he expects. Jim threatens to sell the amulet on eBay, but suddenly the noise coming from his basement room, and he goes to see what it is. In there, Jim encounters two trolls named Blinky and Arg. Blinky informs Jim that he has been chosen to be the next troll hunter to protect the trolls from bad trolls and also mankind. Blinky explains to Jim that there is a secret world of a vast civilization of trolls who live underground. Upon knowing this, Jim immediately loses consciousness. He wakes up in the morning and hurries to call Toby to tell him about what he experienced the previous night. However, Toby is busy at the dentist and unable to talk, so Jim decides to inform Mr. Strickler instead. But he hesitates to tell Mr. Strickler about the trolls and changes the subject to his chess trainers, who really weird him out. Mr. Strickler advises him to take things easy. He thinks that because Jim is focusing on training chess and helping his mother too much, all of those things are causing Jim anxiety. Jim thanks him for his advice and leaves the room. Yet Mr. Strickler is shocked to see that Jim is carrying the amulet with him. As Jim arrives home, the amulet suddenly turns him into the troll hunter with a suit and a sword. Later, it is revealed that Mr. Strickler is also a troll who disguises himself as a human and blames Bular for the fact that Jim has taken the amulet, which would displease Bular's father if he were to hear about it. However, Bular swears to destroy whoever holds the amulet, and Mr. Strickler will lead him to Jim. The next day, Jim goes to see Toby at the dentist by himself to tell him about the amulet that works like crazy. Toby, who has been at the dentist for 8 hours, can't concentrate on what Jim is telling him. Although Jim can't believe Toby has spent so long at the dentist, he takes out the amulet and immediately summons his suit and sword to show Toby, which freaks him out. Upon seeing this, Toby wants Jim to use this power to kick Steve's butt, but Jim is disappointed in Toby's response. At that time, Blinky and Arg approach Jim, which freaks Toby out again. Blinky doesn't expect Jim to tell his best friend about the trolls, since they have to keep their existence a secret from mankind so as not to cause panic. Blinky reminds Jim again that he is now a troll hunter and has the responsibility to protect the trolls, mankind, as well as goblins and many others. However, Jim is the first human troll hunter. When Jim's mother arrives, they quickly hide themselves in the bathroom, which Jim doesn't expect since his mother is home too early. Toby then becomes curious about who the previous troll hunter was before Jim, since he is the first human troll hunter. Blinky explains that the glorious mantle has been passed from troll to troll for hundreds of years, and that the previous troll hunter Conjugar was killed by the evil troll Bular. Upon hearing this, Jim becomes scared for his life, especially when Blinky mentions that Conjugar was the the strongest troll hunter ever. Nonetheless, Blinky tells Jim that he is not going into battle without proper training. The training usually takes decades to become a skilled troll hunter, but Jim only has a day or two for his training. After Jim's mother leaves, Blinky asks Jim to be ready for his training tonight. Jim refuses, saying he has to do his homework and much more. Also, he doesn't want to die young and gives back the amulet to Blinky. However, Jim cannot refuse or give it back since it is his until he dies. Blinky tells him that if he doesn't accept being a troll hunter, Bular will appear to wreak havoc in the human world, to which Jim doesn't know Bular could do that. As Jim has the amulet, Bular will seek him out and he has to face Bular no matter what. Blinky gives him time and they will return to train Jim tomorrow. Seeing Jim upset, Blinky immediately encourages and cheers him up. The next day, when they are on their way to class, Toby notices the light of the amulet still shining out from Jim's bag and questions him if he knows when the amulet is about to change him into a troll hunter. Yet Jim doesn't know and realizes that this is the problem, which Toby drags him out of there quickly. As Mr. Strickler sees this, he then goes to approach Jim. However, Jim is now in his suit, and when he hears Mr. Strickler calling him, he asks Toby to keep Mr. Strickler away from him. Still, Jim is caught by Mr. Strickler, so the only way to keep Mr. Strickler from knowing who he really is, he pretends to join acting tryouts for Romeo and Juliet, and this suit is his costume. When Nunez finishes her acting as Juliet, it is Jim's turn to act as Romeo. Jim doesn't know how to act, and he wishes he tells Mr. Strickler the truth that he is a troll hunter. He then copies Blinky's quote when Blinky encourages him at his house to perform for this show. Surprisingly, he does really well, and everyone is amazed at his acting. Toby also couldn't believe that Jim can act this great. Unfortunately, Bular appears out of nowhere to get the amulet from Jim, and as Jim's amulet is unable to turn him into a troll hunter, both of them immediately escape from Bular as fast as they can. Soon after, they come across Blinky and Arg, and Jim informs them about Bular, who is trying to kill him. He asks them whether they can fight off Bular, yet Blinky says he isn't skilled enough to defeat Bular, and that's why there is a troll hunter. As Bular shows up, Blinky leads them to the Heartstone Troll Market, where they will be safe. At that time, Jim tries to summon his suit many times, yet he fails. As he concentrates, the amulet suddenly turns him into the hunter. However, Jim knows he couldn't face Bular one-on-one, and the only thing he can do is to distract Bular and buy time for Blinky to open the portal to Heartstone Troll Market. As the portal opens, Blinky calls out to Jim to hurry up, yet the portal closes as soon as he reaches it, and his armor also disappears. Fortunately, he is saved by Arg in time. In there, Blinky leads the way for them to the Heartstone Troll Market, and this is the world that Jim is bound to protect. Jim and Toby are stunned to see how beautiful this place is. Jim is curious if trolls all live there. Blinky replies that trolls travel from afar to their market to find comfort and remedies. Trolls will find things that they need the most there, but sometimes they will find something that will surprise them. Soon, the troll named Droll approaches Jim and wonders why humans are in the troll market. Everyone is shocked when they hear Jim is the new troll hunter. However, Droll doesn't believe it, as Jim isn't a troll. So Jim shows everyone that he indeed really is a troll hunter. Later, Jim finds out Droll is Conjugar's son, who declares he is the amulet's rightful heir, and the amulet should have passed to him as his father has already fallen. Arg lets Droll know that the amulet has chosen Jim, and they can't deny that. Blinky then brings Jim to the Hero's Forge, where all the statues of every troll hunter who has died are exhibited, and soon Jim will also have one. However, Blinky begins to train Jim, which he activates the flying blade for Jim to be reflexible. At that moment, an elder of the Heartstone Troll Market, Vendel, shows up to see the new troll hunter. As Vendel wants to know whether the amulet chose Jim by mistake, he lets the Soothcrier reveal the truth, and it will judge Jim's true spirit. If the Soothcrier doesn't tear him apart, that means the amulet indeed chose him. Jim then inserts his hand into the Soothcrier, and it doesn't do any harm to him. However, Vendel considers this as inconclusive, since there has never been a human troll hunter before. He says the Soothcrier needs more time to render its judgment, which Jim will be tested again to see whether he is suitable to be a troll hunter, and Vendel hopes to see him live long enough. Upon arriving home, Jim is surprised that Mr. Stickler is there. He comes to congratulate Jim about his Romeo acting and also to get to know his mother, Barbara. As Mr. Strickler informs Barbara that Jim slept in class a few days ago, Barbara wants him to cut out the things that he does for her. Jim says he likes to take care of his mother because she is the one who told him to take care of each other when his dad passed away. As Mr. Strickler leaves, he goes to approach Bular, saying he shouldn't be there. Bular couldn't wait to crush Jim into pieces and take the amulet. However, Mr. Strickler tells him he must be patient, as he can't draw any attention now. If he does so, it will expose their agenda to both humans and trolls. The next day, Jim starts his training with Blinky, and the troll hunter lives and dies by 3 rules. First, always be afraid, which can keep them alert and on guard. Second, always finish the fight. An opponent must be given no mercy. And lastly, when in doubt, always kick the enemy with a low blow. At that time, Droll shows up to be Jim's sparring partner, as it is a part of the training, and Blinky advises him to hit Droll as hard as he can. Droll then begins the attack on him, repeatedly saying he can't wait until Jim is dead in battle, and he suspects he won't wait very long to be the next Trollhunter. Jim is upset about what Droll says to him, and he decides to give up the amulet. Blinky encourages him, stating that Jim hasn't had a moment to train properly yet, and there is no shame in what just happened. Jim doesn't care if Droll becomes the Trollhunter, and all he cares about is that he knows he isn't suitable for the Trollhunter. However, the amulet is now bonded to him, and even though he tries to get rid of it, the amulet keeps coming back to him. The next day, as Nunez sees Jim isn't paying attention during their practice for Romeo and Juliet, she approaches him saying he needs to be more convincing if he is going to play Romeo. After the practice ends, Jim suddenly runs into Steve, who is mad that Jim didn't show up as he had scheduled. Steve lets Jim go free if he bows to him, and Jim does. As he sees Nunez is also there, he begins to confront Steve, and at that time Jim remembers what Blinky tells him about the 3 rules of the Trollhunter, so he throws a right uppercut to Steve and knocks him out immediately. At the troll market, Droll despises Jim for being the Trollhunter, and he wants a chance to smash him again. Suddenly, Jim shows up and grants his wish, asking Droll for a rematch. Blinky then tells Jim about the history of trolls. Many centuries ago, the troll and human world stood separate and at peace, divided by bridges that acted as doorways between their 2 realms. But the Gum-Gums, who are the race of evil trolls led by their king Gunmar, who is Bular's father, want to devour all of mankind. The rest of the kind troll fight against Gunmar, culminating in the great battle of Killahead Bridge, which is the portal to Gunmar's Darklands. Soon, the great Trollhunter Dea locks Gunmar away, exiling him to the Darklands. He seals the Killahead Bridge with the amulet and tears it apart. The trolls then stow away on their ship to find the new peaceful world, and eventually they find their new home known as the Heartstone Troll Market. However, Jim doesn't pay attention to what Blinky has told him because he didn't get enough sleep last night as he had to learn Spanish for his exam. Blinky suggests he read the troll lore, and he also has to train for a rematch with Droll. Jim thinks if his rematch with Droll is delayed by 1 week, it would be good as he needs to focus on his Spanish exam. If he fails, he will be grounded, and he can't be the Trollhunter. At once, the lady troll approaches Blinky to inform him about the gnome that has stolen her items, and asks Jim to help catch him. As he refuses, Blinky tells him the Trollhunter can't refuse the call. When they try to catch him, a gnome suddenly steals Jim's amulet and goes into a small hole where they are unable to follow him. So Blinky decides to use the Fergulator to shrink Jim to the size of the gnome so he can fit into the hole. Inside, Jim fights the gnome and earns the opportunity to summon the suit from the amulet, which gives him the upper hand in capturing the gnome. Blinky congratulates him on becoming the gnome slayer and tells Jim he will return to his normal size the next day. Blinky reminds him of rule number 2 of the Trollhunter, which is to finish the opponent, and Jim is supposed to kill the gnome. However, he cannot bring himself to do it, so Toby chooses to kill the gnome instead. The next day, Jim is shocked to see he is still tiny and worries about his Spanish exam. He comes up with an idea and asks Toby to do him a huge favor by going to his class with the laptop and video calling to do his presentation. Soon, Jim realizes that Toby hasn't killed the gnome yet and puts it in the cat cage instead. At that time, Toby's grandma releases the gnome from the cage, causing Jim to fight off the gnome again. However, Jim still manages to finish his presentation and gets a B- from his teacher. As Toby arrives home, Jim has already turned back into his normal size. Jim has thought that the gnome is attacking him, yet all he wants is just a home. Jim and Toby then choose to take care of him rather than kill him, and Toby names him Gnome Chomsky. At once, Jim realizes he is late for the rehearsal of his show with Nunez and immediately goes to the hall, yet his role is replaced by Steve. At the museum, Mr. Strickler and Bueller have secretly restored the Killahead Bridge by pieces to bring back Gunmar, and now 50% of the bridge has been completed. It will be fully completed soon as their man arrives with more pieces. And that's it for this episode. Click on the middle to watch more videos like this.